morning. I love you guys. I'm proud of you. I hope you had a good day yesterday. And of course, I hope you are waking up to a marvelous morning with a marvelous attitude. And if not, you do have time to change it. You can choose to be happy today. You can choose to be courteous. You can choose to be friendly. You can choose to be accepting of the good. By that I mean when something good happens to you, you are open to accept it into your world without a fight or struggle. You know how we have that pattern, a lot of us, we don't want anybody to help us do anything. Um, if we have projects that we need to complete, we want to do everything. Even if we could use the help, we still prefer to do it. That is rejecting the good. Because that's absolutely one of the best ways to not utilize the ability to have other people bring blessings into your life. So that's a lot of us like that. There are a lot of us like that. I used to be like that. And I never had even heard of the good or rejecting the good or accepting the good. But I went through some things in my life and I was at such a low point. I started looking around because I always have read. I've been reading all my life. I haven't read as much as I used to in recent years as I did, growing up and even as an adult. But I was going through something, like I said before, and whenever I ever gone through anything, I always look for a book or some books because I always say maybe I haven't experienced it, but somebody has, and they've probably written a book about it. And so I read their books, And that's how I learn how to deal with stuff I have no idea what to do with. Just don't even know where to begin. But I read a book. The book was written by a lady named Louise Hay. And the book is called You Can Heal Your Life. That book absolutely changed my entire world. The book was so good. I read the book like 7 times, maybe more. Um, I had never heard of those concepts that she used. And one of the things she talked about constantly was the good, being accepting of it or not accepting of it. Also, I really learned about sabotage, self-sabotage, and all of that because I didn't know anything about it. Sorry, my necklace looks crazy, but I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know about self-sabotage. I didn't really know about self-hatred. I didn't realize well, I knew about unforgiveness, but I didn't know the degree to which it could affect your life and other people and how it could hinder you from doing, being, and becoming the person you really want to become in life. So it was quite an eye opener for me. Also finding out that we have more control over our attitudes than I had ever known. I didn't think we had any control over them. And I maybe have touched on this before, but it's kind of like, are you mad? You're mad till you ain't mad no more. You feel sad, you're sad, you don't feel sad anymore. Well, it's not quite like that. We do have control over how we choose to respond to things, no matter how devastating it could be at times. And sometimes we do get some devastating news. We get to choose how we respond to it. And that's true. That's true. I mean, because sometimes you go through things, you think, oh gosh, it's going to put me way back. It's going to really put me in a funk because that's what you're used to. Things controlling your response and your temperament. But it doesn't have to be that way. Only if we're willing to accept it. And if that's been our pattern, of course, we have to fight ourselves to not do that anymore. That's where the work comes in. And that's where a lot of people quit because they don't want to do that work. If you're doing what's familiar, there's no work. Just do what you've been doing. You don't even feel it. But once you start deciding to go in a different direction in a more positive way, that's when the struggle begins. Now, it can be a good struggle, it can be a bad struggle. It could be a bad struggle in the sense that you're tired of trying and you quit. But if it's a good struggle, it's like, well, this is hard. It's really pushing me, but it's worth it because I want to improve and I want to get better. So that's kind of how I see it. And since I changed my thinking around all those years ago when I read that book for the first time, I would really recommend that book to anybody, um, whether you believe in God or not. It's just an excellent book. And she's just a wonderful lady. I love her. I've never met her, but her book was just what I needed at that time in my life. I can't even begin to explain that to you. Perhaps some of you guys who are big readers, you get that. Because it was like different books would speak to me and give me just what I needed at that time in my life. Like I said, I don't read like I used to, but some books just shifted my whole way of thinking. And it was always such a blessing to learn new things. And I don't feel intimidated by learning new things. A lot of people do feel intimidated, and they don't want to change. Because when you don't change, there is no struggle. The struggle comes later when life presents something to you that you needed to have learned at another point, but you didn't because you were too busy not caring. See, that's how that works out. You might not need to change right now, but down the road, you may really wish you had taken the time um, to maybe find a more enlightened path instead of just settling in for the status quo and feeling like it's no big deal. Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention to that. And that's how we are. We always think, well, whatever we're doing or not doing, everybody's doing it. That's not always the case. People are working on improving themselves all the time. You might not know it and you might not care, but they do. And when you see how they start um, and then compare it to where they are now, then you can see, oh, wow, that did make a difference. That change in attitude. So that's the stuff I got for you today. I hope it was in some way an addition to you, certainly not a subtraction. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you're staying warm enough and being careful out there on that ice and snow if you're out there, and being careful with that wind if you're in a place where the wind is blowing really hard. I remember one day, oh, how long ago it was, I was out walking and the wind was literally just blowing me around outside. It was so crazy. It was like picking me up and blowing me around. And I couldn't get my bearings to save my life. I think that was last year. I don't think I've ever experienced that. And I've lived in some cold places. But I never had the wind just take my whole body over and like move me. So I don't want you guys to go through that. But just know if that should happen, there is life after being blown around. You can make it. It will be okay. So I've enjoyed you. Have a fabulous day. Be happy today. Make yourself smile. Make yourself feel good about who you are, your accomplishments, your dreams, your goals. Um, even feel good about the risks you're taking because you're probably, if you're trying to get better, you're probably doing some things you wouldn't normally do, but it's helping you grow. You can't see that yet, but just stick with it. Don't let it go. If it gets a little difficult, just still stick with it. The payoff will be wonderful. I know because that's how I've lived for a long time. And I stay with it until I know it's over. I don't walk out. I used to. And a lot of stuff I didn't complete because I felt like, well, is this hard? It must not be meant to be. That's absolutely not true. That's not true at all. So take care of yourself. I love you. You know you're my dogs. Peace. See you tomorrow morning. Bye bye, babies.